What's going on, everybody? Toby1 Shinobi here, and today I'm going to teach you how to truly master vehicle combat in Chapter 5, Season 3 of Fortnite. Like it or not, this season is 50% vehicle combat and 50% normal combat. So mastering your vehicle combat is incredibly important. And I promise you this, at first, vehicle combat feels pretty darn gimmicky, and a lot of times it is, but there's also a lot of layers to it that most people aren't even aware of that makes it really interesting and fun. So I'll be teaching you tips and tricks to using cars most effectively and how to counter cars using advanced tactics. This video will be pretty fast paced because there is a lot to unpack here and it should be full of juicy tips. Let's get into it. Now, first off, I think a lot of people are struggling with how to beat cars right now, so I want to address that right off the bat. Using a car to beat other cars is generally ideal, but you can definitely take down vehicles or players easily when you're on foot. You just have to be strategic about it. Let's start with the ultimate car's weakness: high ground and areas that can't be driven to. If you get yourself to a high up place that cars either can't access or it takes them a long time to get to, you can easily grief them with bullets or just wait for them to go away. This is best accomplished with nitro fists to gain large amounts of elevation quickly. For instance, there are a lot of tall structures throughout the map as well as very tall canyon walls and mountains. If you use nitro fist to jump to the top of this high elevation, enemies and vehicles really can't do anything about it unless they jump out and chase you, which gives you the opportunity you need to make a move by either stealing their car, killing them, or escaping. If they manage to drive up to you, you can just jump back down to low ground with your nitro fists and keep shooting them from afar. When they push you back down on low ground, you can just nitro fist jump yourself up to high ground again. Rinse and repeat until you blow them up or they leave you alone. They really can't do anything in this situation because their turrets are too inaccurate at that range, and they usually can't see you at those angles if they're going vertically up and down. And they usually can't even see you at those angles because the camera clips into the car. People severely underestimate how much damage you can do with a normal gun against a vehicle when you have clear sight lines on them. So don't be scared to spray them down with a few clips. Even a mythic car can be taken down with just a few clips from a Thunderburst SMG or an assault rifle. If I have one major recommendation for vehicle combat this season, it's to be more flexible and don't get tied to your car. Being outside of your car is actually not a death sentence if you have mobility items, and a lot of times it's actually much more efficient to deal damage with a weapon than a turret or a grenade launcher because you have better accuracy, more consistent damage output, and you can use cover better. But it's really all about setting up in the right position. Also, one last note on this: if you get someone really hurt and they start flying away with nitro fists, don't be scared about jumping out of your car and chasing them down. There are cars everywhere, and surviving on foot really isn't that hard with things like nitro gates and nitro fists. So you really should adopt a mentality of not being tied to your vehicle. Another key to eliminating cars when you're on foot is getting them to drive toward you in a straight line and shooting them through the windshield. This can be done by forcing them to drive up steep hills towards you where the angle on them is ideal through the windshield, or getting them to drive through narrow areas where they can't turn. You can also use the uppercut move on the nitro fist to throw their car away from you, which can be really effective in endgames where the storm can damage them for a lot and you're on top of a hill. If you're on the side of a car and you uppercut them, you'll also deal 60 damage to them through the car. The pickaxe trick is also very effective unless it's a two-seater with a turret, and we'll talk about that later. Now, if you manage to get an enemy shooting at you from the gunner seat and the driver's seat is open, you have a couple options. One is to rotate around them using mobility until you get a clear shot at their windshield and then just shoot them in the head from cover. A lot of people stay committed to the gunner seat and usually they're sitting there static and it's a very easy target to hit. Meanwhile, their turret or their grenades are not very accurate. The second option is to use mobility to close the gap quickly and then jump into the driver's seat yourself. Once you have control of the vehicle, you can do a lot of things to kill them or just make them give up. For instance, if you want to keep the car, you can drive them into storm and most players will get nervous and jump out. You can even park their passenger side on the edge of storm while you're on the safe side. Or you can just drive them off a cliff into a bad situation. You can also intentionally get the car stuck between two objects or some terrain, and then hop out of the driver's seat and shoot them through the windows. You can get the car unstuck by using the Nitro Fist uppercut. Now, if you plan on not using cars much, I highly suggest carrying Flowberry Fizz and Nitro Fists because you can cover a lot of distance without being gunned down by cars, as well as reach very high places without using many charges. It's really hard for turrets to hit you out of the air because when they look straight up, their camera breaks and goes through the car's roof, making it practically impossible to see you. Now, one important tip about Nitro Fist is to make sure you never use all your charges when you're moving through the map, because if you get pulled up on by a car when you have no charges, you are probably dead. Overall, if you're creative about movement, positioning, and your loadout, you can definitely play this season successfully without using cars very often. Alright, now that we got that out of the way, let's start talking about vehicle combat. First off, let's cover all the crazy benefits of the Nitro effect, because I think a lot of people don't know exactly what it does. Nitro lasts for 20 seconds when consumed in any form by using a Nitro Splash, going through a Nitro Gate, or hitting an explosive Nitro Cylinder. On foot, Nitro reloads your player's weapons faster, makes you move faster, gives you much faster stamina recharge, and allows you to break through walls with your body while sprinting or sliding, and deals 25 damage to players as well as a knockback effect when you hit them while sprinting or sliding. Nitro also does very similar things when you're inside a vehicle, increasing overall speed, and it makes your turrets and grenade launchers shoot faster and reload faster. It also makes your car's boost ability recharge much faster. It also causes extra damage to players and structures when you run into them with a car. Real quick, if you're enjoying this video, please consider smashing that like button, body slamming the subscribe button, and gently clicking the notification bell to get alerted every time I drop a new video or go live. And if you want to support me and my family even further, please consider using code Toby1Shinobi in your Fortnite item shop. It's free and it helps us a ton. Thank you. Alright, now let's quickly cover the different vehicles we have right now and their unique attributes. Then we'll get into tactics, tricks, and tips. A quick note is that all HP values for vehicles change depending on the team size in the game. So if you play solos, your car will have much less HP than if you're playing squads. For instance, in squads, the normal SUV has an additional 700 HP than in solos, and the sports car has an additional 500 HP. This large HP difference is an update that Epic just made for solos to make that mode more manageable. Currently, the SUV and the sports car are the two main vehicle types in the game, but I'm sure we'll see more vehicle types coming soon. In solos, the normal SUV has about 1400 HP and the normal car has about 1100 HP. In squads, the SUV will have 2100 HP and the sports car will have 1600 HP. Now, the sports car's base speed is faster than the SUV and has a much better boost that can send you flying when you get airborne, but the SUV has 4 seats, can handle off-road scenarios better with stock tires, and has an extra 400 HP. There's also a battle bus in the game which is slower overall but has 2 rocket turrets on it and an EMP blast for a horn, which is easily its best attribute. Now, as you probably know, there are also mythic versions of the SUV and the car which can be found on your map. The Nitrodrome always has a mythic car that can be unlocked with a medallion, and the other 2 mythic cars can spawn at various points on the map, either in a caravan with a battle bus or their respective POIs, which then require the medallion to unlock them. You can always tell a vehicle is mythic because it has a checkered flag at the back of the vehicle. The mythic SUV sports a grenade launcher and has about 1700 HP, which is 300 more HP than the normal version of the SUV. The mythic sports car uses a turret and has about 1300 HP in solos, which is about 200 more than the regular car. In all honesty, the health difference between the mythic vehicles and the normal vehicles is not that huge, but the fact that they always have the nitro effect is really good because you can easily outrun opponents, catch up to them, or outmaneuver them. Seriously, nitro cannot be overlooked for car combat. Now let's talk about things you need to know to perform combat well in vehicles. I'll breeze over the basics and mostly focus on the more technical and advanced stuff. First off, a fully upgraded vehicle is always best. If you want to play aggressive and move through the map quickly, the sports car is the best option. If you aren't the best best driver and maybe you just want to have more HP, or you want to seat a whole squad and not move as quickly, the SUV is the move. But I'll just mention right now, if you're playing squads, you should definitely be driving 2 vehicles in most cases for added pressure, flanks, and a larger total health pool. Now we'll cover some things that most players aren't utilizing with cars when they're in vehicle combat. I'll call these hidden essentials. First off, all vehicles can power slide very well and basically instantly 180 by using the brake button while turning. This is great for getting enemies off your tail. The brake button doesn't work any better than reverse for slowing down, but it works great for turning quickly. Next, you need to drive your car using both your camera and your movement buttons. For controllers, that means moving both sticks, and for mouse and keyboard, that means using your A and D keys as well as your mouse. This gives you the most control. You want to make precise turns using your camera and make larger, more aggressive turns using your character movement inputs. Your boost button should be utilized when you're flying in the air, so don't burn it all before a jump. You can use the boost to clear large gaps when airborne and land safely past objects. If you have nitro going, or you're in a mythic car, the boost button can turn you into a rocket ship when you're in the air and let you fly across the map. It'll also allow you to climb nearly vertical mountains or canyon walls if you boost at the right time. Another tip, if you're in an SUV or the battle bus and you want to quickly switch to the driver's seat, don't use your seat swap button. Instead, slow the vehicle down just a little bit and then exit the car and then quickly re-enter the car while it's moving. This will always put you back in the driver's seat, and it's much faster than swapping through all those seats. When in gunner mode, you can swap off the turret to your normal weapons or consumables by pressing a mapped button, usually down on the left stick on a controller, which is shown on the left side of your screen. This is great for keeping constant pressure on enemies out of grenade or turret range, as well as using nitro splashes or bubble shields while driving. You can swap back to gunner mode with the same button. It's highly recommended to get out of gunner mode at longer ranges when you have a boom bow or a mythic combat AR, as these weapons are great for applying heavy damage at range. Once you close the gap on your enemy, you can re-enter gunner mode again. Now, when you're in the passenger seat of a mythic car, your normal weapons receive a massive rate of fire buff for some reason, similar to the turret when on nitro. Therefore, you should take advantage of that by using your assault rifle or your boom bow on enemies and other cars at longer ranges and skip on using the turret. Your assault rifle, burst SMG, or boom bow is usually much more effective at medium or longer ranges than a turret, especially with this insane rate of fire buff. If you pair this with the Ringmaster medallion, you'll have infinite ammo as well. Again, this only works in mythic cars. It does not work if you get nitro charged in a normal car or SUV. I am not sure if this was intentional or if this is going to get patched in the future. Another tip is if you're within 17 meters of another car, you can pull out a normal weapon and aim it at the vehicle to see its remaining health. A note about spiked bumpers. The spiked bumper of your car should be utilized as a large damage chunk during fights. It deals about 400 damage to vehicles per hit at almost any speed. If you boost into the rear or side of another car with a spiked bumper, this can be the difference in winning the fight. There are 3 items that are currently underutilized that can have a huge impact on how successful you are in car combat. These are nitro splashes, shield bubbles, and repair torches. We'll get more into this later. The pickaxe trick is highly effective for dealing with enemies in cars. This trick is done by holding your fire trigger down while having your pickaxe out and then entering as a passenger into the car as you are swinging it. It can be done while falling from the sky, while sliding, or jogging. If the seat you enter is not the driver's seat or a gunner, then you'll be able to continue to hold your swing button down and aim your reticle at enemies in the car and do 20 damage to them repeatedly. The trick here is that you have to hold your swing button down as you enter the car and never let it go. Then just continue to hold it down and aim at enemies. But keep in mind, this will only work if there's a spare seat without a turret in it. So for most cars this season, it actually won't work on. But the mythic SUV or any SUV generally works, as well as 2-seaters without any turrets mounted on top. This trick is so crazy that I've actually wiped entire trios because people just don't realize they're being damaged, and most players never want to exit their car this season. Now, a lot of higher ranked car combat in in team modes is very role dependent and should be about efficiency. So it can be treated similar to a game like Sea of Thieves, where one teammate navigates, strategizes, and calls out requests, and the other teammate manages sails, fires cannons, etc. Most good car combat is longer drawn out fights where the more tactical and efficient team wins using inventory and managing their resources well while outputting good chunks of damage. Alright, now let's jump into some vehicle mod loadouts that I suggest and how to use them. For all of these loadouts, I suggest having nitro fists or shockwaves in your inventory in case things go sideways. I'd also suggest having at least one spray weapon and a shotgun. After that, you can fill the slots to match how you want to play. Now, vehicle pickup crates have a 30-second respawn time and alternate between two different types of pickups of that category. So if you get a turret once and you want a grenade launcher, you can just wait 30 seconds to get it. And repair crates never change and they're always in the same places. Pro tip, these are overpowered. Now let's talk about tires. I highly suggest always equipping bulletproof tires if possible. They aren't quite as fast or grippy as off-road tires, but the off-road tires are too easy for enemies to pop, which can be a real problem unless you have repair boxes or a repair torch readily available. The bulletproof tires handle much better than no upgraded tire, and the speed difference of the off-road tire really isn't all that good when you're boosting around anyway. Now, as far as the cow catcher or spiked bumper goes, I highly suggest the spiked bumper for the 400 damage it can deal to vehicles, and it also hits enemy characters for a massive 120 damage. I can really only recommend the cow catcher if you're trying to demolish a POI to get loot quickly. Now, as far as turrets or grenade launchers go, both are very good when used properly. Personally, I prefer the grenade launcher for a hit and run strategy, especially paired with nitro effects. And a quick note about being a dedicated gunner in team modes. As a gunner, it's incredibly important to communicate how much damage you're dealing to an enemy's vehicle so your driver knows what to do next, as well as your cooldown timer and utilities like repair torches or bubbles. Too often I see gunners just shooting and not saying anything. Your callout should be sounding something like this. 300 damage, I need to reload though. Break away for a bit. Alright, I only have a little bit of repair torch left, like half. 600 damage, 200 damage, they're about to blow up, stay on them. Now, this is because if you have a good driver, they're focused on the terrain and staying evasive, and they're not looking at the enemy car to know what's going on. So if you're missing your shots, you gotta tell your driver, otherwise you're gonna get yourselves killed. Alright, now let's talk about turrets and grenade launchers. The grenade launcher deals 210 damage to vehicles per shot and 70 damage to players. It shoots at a fairly slow fire rate and has a long cooldown after all 6 shots have been fired. The beauty of this weapon is how quickly it can deal massive amounts of splash damage on enemies and vehicles. It can do over 1200 damage within a couple of seconds when paired with nitro. Keep in mind, it only takes about 9 grenades to blow up a normal full health SUV. The grenade launcher is best used by having the driver get within 30 meters of an enemy vehicle and then landing all their grenade shots on them and then immediately getting space again. This is preferably done with a mythic SUV or with nitro effects on your car because it dramatically increases the fire rate, which allows you to deal even more damage in a smaller window of time and then drive away until you're reloaded, which driving away is also much faster with nitro effects. This is the hit and run strategy, and it usually requires a good driver to be used effectively. Now, when you run out of grenades and you get some distance, you should switch off the gunner mode and use your character's guns to continue to apply pressure and damage from range, or heal yourself up, use nitro splashes, throw on some bubbles, etc, etc. Now, if you're in a mythic vehicle and you're firing your normal gun, your fire rate is insane and can absolutely shred people and vehicles. I highly recommend the mythic boom bow or the mythic combat AR with the infinite ammo medallion for this. Oftentimes it's even more effective than the grenades themselves, as long as you don't put yourself at much risk by getting too close and letting people shoot you when you're hanging out the passenger side window. The grenade launcher grenades are also great for breaking down cover and looting structures quickly. They regenerate, so there's really no downside to shooting grenades into structures and breaking all the walls and floors to find more loot. It's also good for clearing a path for your driver if you need to shoot down some trees or rocks in front of you. It's also very good at volleying shots at players' cover from afar. The major downside to the grenade launcher is that it's weak at medium and long range due to its slow projectile speed and difficulty of use. In order to improve your accuracy with the grenade launcher, you can use the rangefinder lines and previous experience. experience. Grenade launcher rangefinder lines are about 25 meters for the first line and 35 meters for the second line. But you also need to account for how slow the grenade shoots out, how fast your vehicle is moving, and how fast your enemy's vehicle is moving as well. Therefore, you often need to double the range length when moving compared to a static target. And this is why the grenade launcher is best used within the 30-meter range. Now let's talk about the turret. The turret deals 30 damage to the body of players and vehicles, as well as 50 damage to the head of players. It has pretty poor accuracy past 40 meters, but is effective against vehicles up to 80 meters as long as you control the bloom by tap firing the trigger. The turret is best used at medium range, while the driver uses aggressive maneuvers to dodge oncoming fire. Medium range is important because that is where the enemies will miss you with the grenade launcher and they won't always hit you with turrets. This ensures that you aren't trading damage equally and that aiming and driving skills actually prevail. Now, while holding down the trigger, a mounted turret can do a maximum of 1500 damage before having to cool down. If you're in the mythic car or you have nitro effects going, that 1500 damage is dealt much quicker with an increased fire rate, and the cooldown is much shorter before shooting again. That is why I suggest you carry nitro splashes with you if you're a gunner and then pop them before entering fights, or have the driver run through nitro gates or run over nitro cylinders. That way you have 20 seconds of a much higher damage output. I also highly recommend not just holding down your turret trigger the entire time. Only fire when you have a clear shot on an enemy car and then release the trigger when you don't. That way you avoid the cooldown timer on the turret. Alright, now let's talk tactics and decisions with vehicle combat. First off, you should try to play as aggressively with cars as possible. It's going to be more fun and it'll increase the amount of fights you get in and help you learn what works and what doesn't. Obviously, a team or player that has won 1,000 car fights will almost always beat a team that has only won 100 because they're much better at decision making and tactics. As you develop your car combat skills, you'll learn when to exit fights, when to leave and repair the car, when to use your utility, when to chase, and so on. Now, the first part of vehicle combat that you should master is probably survival. This is basically made up of 3 parts. 1, good driving and gunning skills. 2, good pre-planning and knowledge of routes and exits. And 3, good in-combat decision-making. I'm going to try not to go into too much depth about these because we are here for the more technical stuff, but I will lightly touch on them. The first point is good driving and gunning skills. Whether you are playing solos or teams, you need to be a skilled driver and a very good gunner. Take the time to really master controlling vehicles and practice the lead and trajectory on turrets and grenade launchers. The turret projectile speed is a lot slower than you think. Now, as a driver, it's your job to keep the car on its wheels and keep everyone alive. This also means never showing your windshield to enemies for too long. A good driver has mastered evasive driving without making their gunner's job hard. That usually involves using your boost a lot to evade enemy fire and get away until your gunner is reloaded again to take on another encounter. Smart car combat means taking a few passes and dealing heavy damage quickly and then breaking away. Unless the enemy's car is about to blow up, then you need to stay on their heels. Second is good pre-planning and knowledge of routes and exits. You need to plan ahead for success. Before you set out for battle, make sure you have what you need to survive out there, because many times you're going to be out in the open without any other options but to win or escape. Having mobility items like shockwave grenades or gloves is almost a must, because if your vehicle goes down, you can still get out and escape to another car, high ground, or cover away from enemy vehicles. It's also ideal to have a repair torch or at least a route in mind that will get you to another car to swap to, a repair pickup, a repair station, or cactus heals for you and your car. You'll also want to have traps in mind to drag your opponents into and take advantage of the situation, such as narrow canyons where you force the enemy to follow you and then you can spray their windshield with bullets. Third is good decision making during combat. It's hugely important, and generally the driver position should be given to the player who knows how to evade enemy fire, drive in a way that assists their gunner best, and knows how to get out of bad situations. On top of that, you need to have plans in mind for how you're going to get out of a losing fight. Sometimes you know you're going to get blown up, so you need to bring your car somewhere with good cover or high ground that you can use nitro fist to get on top of, and then use your weapons to damage their car or make them lose interest in you. Now I I want to quickly cover all the best ways to heal your vehicle and yourself. If you look at your map, you will see gas station icons. These indicate places that have repair stations for your car. These heal your car back to perfect condition in a matter of seconds just by parking on top of the plate for a few seconds. You need to learn these locations so that if your car is badly damaged, you can dip out and repair without having to look at your map. A bonus note is that if you see an enemy going for a gas station repair, shoot the gas pump next to the repair plate, and this will damage them badly as well as not allow them to repair. Additionally, there are repair crate pickups on the map that will instantly heal your car to full health, which is pretty much the most overpowered thing you can do in vehicle combat. These repair crates are all over the map and they're always in the same spots and can be found using Fortnite.gg. Do your research and keep their locations in mind while you drive. If you or your teammate decide to carry a repair torch to repair your car in the field, you can currently buy them from P-Boy or other NPCs for only 25 gold, or you can often find them near garages or out of large ammo crates. In most cases, I would say you only need to carry one at a time, because if you need more than that, you're probably doing something wrong. You also need to learn the location of cacti around the map. The cactus heals you for 30 HP and your car for 100, and they are everywhere in the desert. For instance, I like to fight around the Nitrodrome because I know that inside the Nitrodrome there are 2 repair crates, and then just north of the POI there is a group of 4 cacti nearby which can heal myself for 120 HP and my car for 400 HP instantly. There are many spots similar to this, and you should do your own research using the Fortnite.gg map. And just a note on the cactus, you need to drive through the cacti slowly when there are multiple of them in order to heal your character properly. It'll always heal your car properly, but if you bust through multiple of them at a time, it'll only heal your character HP for 30 points instead of say 120. So drive slow through them and hit them one by one. Now, if you want to make your whole game about car combat, then this is the loadout that your gunner should carry. An assault rifle, nitro fists, nitro splashes, bubble shields, and a repair torch. With these 5 items, you should be able to pretty much survive any encounter until the end game, and honestly, it's pretty busted. If your car takes a good amount of damage, throw a bubble shield on it and then start using your repair torch. Then hit a nitro splash before getting back into the gunner, and then give yourself increased fire rate as well as your car extra speed to either fight or get away. If you ever get blown up, you can use your nitro fist to get away and your assault rifle to deal damage and keep people off you until you find another car. You can also throw a bubble shield on that new car to avoid taking damage until you're in a better situation. Alright, I hope this video was helpful for you. If you liked it, please click the thumbs up button on the video. It only takes a second. And if you like in-depth videos like this, check out my must-watch Fortnite Zero Build playlist on my YouTube channel. I promise you will not regret it. And if you want to take your learning to the next level, consider clicking the join button or the link in the video description to get access to my private Discord full of incredible people and resources. It's a 16+ community and has a zero toxicity policy, and I believe it's the best gaming community you will ever be a part of. And if you join at the master level, you get access to master trainings with myself and other masters 3 days a week. If you want to skip all that and you want to support me for free, please consider using code Toby1Shinobi in your Fortnite item shop. Thank you so much for watching. Have yourself a great day. Shinobi out.